What's up, everyone? Welcome back to what did I call this thing again? I think it was the monkey flip. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I'm calling this game 1 just because there's probably been like 40 games that haven't been recorded. I hit 1700 in that time. I think I even hit 1720. Right now, as you can see, my account is 1693. But I'm going to be doing 8 games per day until I hit 1900, and I'm trying to do that by the end of the month. But without further ado, let me dive into this next game. I'm going to be recording like before, since I got kind of lazy with that. From 1693, I'm against this guy. We're going to have a Caro-Kann, so he's 1612. His name is Vetlansky. I'm not going to remember that. I just need the rating anyway. Okay. So the objectively best move here for white is to just go e5. But knight c3 is common. Knight f3 is not as common. Yeah, so here, typically you either want to move the bishop out. I don't know why my arrows are doing that. Let me actually see if I can fix that. Highlight last move. Yes. I guess that's fine. Anyway, let me write everything down. 4 c6, d4, d5, and we had e5. So there's two different things you could do here. You could play c5 or bishop f5. What do I want to do today? I think I'm going to press for c5 today. I don't think it's as good as bishop f5, but I also don't think it's as common either. Basic idea with this move is just to tear his pawns apart so that they're no longer connected in the center. He actually went for bishop b5. Tempted to just go bishop d7 and trade him off. But the thing with this move is that then I'm going to get e6. When e6 comes, I can't capture, so I have to capture with pawn, and I have this ugly double pawn setup. Actually, wait, no, that doesn't work. Yeah, that doesn't work, because I would just take his bishop. So you probably would have to capture with queen, I guess? Yeah, I would have to capture with the queen, because if I capture with knight, yeah, these arrows are really kind of bad today. Then he'll play e6. Then I would have to capture with my f-pawn. So I don't think that's the correct move. Let's see if I can exploit it. Of course, my dumbass stopped recording moves after like move 3. So after c5, he had bishop b5 check. So I defended with bishop d7. Which is when he played a4. And I countered with queen a5. Okay, maybe I'm just dumb. I forgot all about that move. I just assumed he would be blocking with the knight. But I don't mind queen going to b6, actually. Because now if we get this exchange, and he presses e6, I can just capture. Plus I have pressure on this b2 pawn, I also have pressure on the d4 pawn. So that's not actually as bad for me as I thought it was. See, I thought I would just be winning a piece, because if he blocks with a knight, and then I take, he obviously can't recapture with a knight, because it's check, and he can't recapture with this pawn, because he'll lose his rook. So that was dumb of me. I didn't even imagine either of these moves. He could have done the bishop, or he could have done the queen. Okay, so he chooses to capture. I'll capture back. Okay. So he was probably hoping that I would capture, and then he would capture, and he has a nice centralized bishop, as well as another threat on my queen. But I don't have to capture that pawn whatsoever, so I'm just going to leave it. It's kind of aggressive. So I think I have another tactic that I want to try out. So take on d4, and I'm assuming, oh man, I messed up my notes. That was the last thing I had right. So queen a5. Yeah, I missed a lot of moves. Let me go fix this. This is why it's good to practice notation. As easy as it is in concept, you can still mess it up. Let me also explain my thought process here. So basically, if he blocks with bishop, he's going to lose his queen. If he moves his king, then he can't castle. If he blocks with pawn, I take this, threatening the rook or the knight. If he blocks with a knight, I also take this pawn, threatening the rook. So he's got to make a choice. Does he want to move his king, or does he want to lose a pawn? Another move I'm considering is knight takes on e5, and he can't capture because once again his queen will just be hanging. It also threatens his queen right away, so he has to move his queen, which allows me to better improve my knight. The more I think about it, the more the b2 pawn, I think it is, seems a little bit poisoned to me. Just because, say, he blocks with the knight and then I take the pawn, then he could just go rook b1, or he could just kind of shuffle his knight around. These arrows are actually driving me insane. That's the general idea, that he could just kind of drag his knight around until it gets to c7, and then do some damage there. And yeah, the great thing on taking on e5 with my knight means that I can now put my knight on the f6 square without any repercussions. Okay, so he does block with a knight. I thought he would. So I don't want to take the pawn on b2, just because I'm going to have more attacks coming. Although I do grab another pawn instantly. I think I grab this central pawn instead. Don't give him any counterplay. Bishop can go to d6 next. Or I could just move the knight to like g6. Better yet, so that this check doesn't come through, I could go knight to... Wait a second. This is just hanging. Right? Yeah, that's literally just hanging. Is there anything wrong with taking it? I don't see anything wrong with taking it. I know this check's coming, but this pretty much defends it. Oh, okay, so he moves that. Alright, so I guess it wasn't a free knight. Currently considering trading rook for rook, but that's pretty dangerous. I'm okay with the exchange though. I'm gonna go for it. So as it stands, I'm 2 pawns and a bishop up. He does have tempo with knight going to c7, but if I just go to d8, he doesn't have any more checks to continue with. If he chooses to take my rook, I will take his with check. So much better for me. Then I'll be eyeing the pawn on a4. Actually, no, I won't be. I'll be just going knight c4, check. So yeah, I think what he should be trying to do is saving his rook in this situation. So like rook d1 or something, for example. I don't know why I say for example, like he has any other moves. He has rook a3, but then, yeah, okay, so he does go with that. So now I have a chance to go bishop b4. Do I want to take it? I think I do. So one option he has is to play c3, in which case we're just going to trade everything off and I'm just going to be a piece up in several pawns. Another option he has is just to go king over to, king over to f1. And then essentially what I want to do is get rid of his rook threat. So like a rook c8 is fine here. I could also just move the bishop to a5. Bishop a5 isn't bad. He does have knight going to d6 then, but his queen can no longer go to b5 because my queen will now be locking that line. I could also just go e7. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. If I'm able to get my king to safety, then I think I just convert. I'm basically saying here that if he goes knight d6 that he can't do shit. And I'm pretty sure I'm right. So just a bit of insight, my plan for climbing pretty rapidly. It's going to be kind of categorizing my mistakes, so I won't do it on each game, just because that requires me to change accounts and then do a lot of thorough analysis. What I'm going to do is I'm eventually going to look at like my accuracy score and see where most of my mistakes and blunders come into play. Whether it's like an opening mistake, which just means I need to study the opening lines more. Whether it's like a tactical thing, where I need to like slow down at certain points in the game or just improve certain tactics. Or if it's like a end game screw up, excuse me, then I know that as well. I've definitely improved on my defense as far as d4 is concerned, but I think it's only improved as far as like the 1500 rank. I think that against like 1600 onward, I still kind of lose to this rating range. We'll just have to see. Huh, do I dare take it? I'm tempted to take it. I really don't think he has anything. And it simplifies the game. I mean, yeah, he'll capture on d5 then, but he'll have to do that immediately, in which case I'm going to be able to play some more moves attacking him. His pen is running out of ink. Yeah, so he chose to do that right away. So now I have a tempo to save this piece. Could also just kind of force his hand. But I think I'd rather defend the pawn. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so my pen's out of ink. I was doing a bad job writing down the moves anyway, though. So now that I think about it, if I go e7, he does have another check. So maybe I go d7? The thing with d7 is he's going to capture on f7, which isn't very comfortable. Now I could just hide with like a king f8, but that's kind of making my other rook useless. I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow his check to come through. When it comes through, I'll go to d7, give him this pawn, give myself the file. I think I like that. Yep. Giving him the g7 pawn. So that I could play rook g8, which probably would make him play rook to g1. After that I could go rook c8. Yep, got a missed call 12 minutes ago. Gonna have to check that out later. Okay, that was not a move I was expecting. Firmly thought he was going to take on g7. So he seems to care more about defending the c2 pawn. Okay. Do I just go rook c8, take the file? Could also bring my bishop to c3. I think I'm going to bring my rook over. I currently have 3 pieces involved to his 3 pieces, so I want to sway those numbers in my favor. He's not going to have the easiest time guarding the c2 square. Okay. So I'm going to bring the bishop to b6. That's because it no longer has to guard the c7 square, so I'm going to get him onto a stronger diagonal. Oh, these arrows are pissing me off. Got a lot of simultaneous threats going on. Not easy for him to defend. As soon as I trade off like 2 or 3 of these pieces, I think he should resign. I mean, he's fighting right now because he has the same active pieces as me, but now that I got my other rook involved and I have some tactics going on, I think it should be game over for him. So I might have some good news. So U-Haul messed up. Alright, hold up. I'll say my good news right after whatever this is that he's trying to do. So he's defending the d4 square, but I can now take on c2 with my rook, and he probably won't be anticipating that. Yeah, so he thought we would exchange out, and then his queen actually is still positioned pretty well if he slides his other rooks over. But instead, I'm just not going to give him the chance. I'm going to take on c2. Obviously, he can't take because of the pin, and I'm going to be barreling down on f2. But the good news that I was saying is that U-Haul overcharged for the basically my move to Connecticut, so contacted them about it, and they should be owing me like 320 bucks. But it looks like these idiots are about to mess up again and give me like 430 bucks back, so definitely will not mind the extra 100 bucks if they mess it up. So now I feel pretty confident in taking this trade, I think. Yeah, I don't have any problems here now. If he takes with queen, I'm going to exchange. If he takes with a rook, my rook is probably going to come here to e2. And he is going to have a hard time defending his rook on d4. Okay. By a hard time, I mean it literally only gets saved by queen f4, in which case I think I want to play e5. So we will get a bit of counterplay out of it, but I should end up a rook up afterwards, like an extra rook up. And hopefully he just gives up at that point. Lead is pretty unsurmountable at this point. So now the move I was considering is e5, because if he takes, then he just loses it. Yeah, I'm expecting him to take the pawn on d5, but at that point I think he just... Oh, okay. Did not see that move. Am I playing too quick? How do I choose to defend? As dumb as it sounds, I'm actually considering my king going to d6. Even more in the center. Okay, so just chose to move his piece backwards. That just loses a rook, doesn't it? Let's not do that. How do I most safely trade off pieces in this situation? Time is important too. I gotta find some kind of checkmate if he's gonna make me play this out. What do I have? I have Queen C2. And this move does a bunch of things. First and foremost, offers a queen trade. Second off, I threaten taking on f2. If he captures with a rook, I'll take his rook, so I essentially gain a pawn in that scenario. Also targeting the a4 pawn. I'm also trying to get onto the g6 square and check him if he chooses to move the queen out of the way. Okay, so he chose to move the queen out of the way. I do have a queen trade here if I want it. Yeah, I'm not going to look for anything better right now. I just want to simplify this. I'm way too ahead. So it looks like I'll be 1 point shy of 1700. I'm going to take with that pawn, I'm pretty sure. Open up my rook. Actually, no. I want to take with the other one. Sure, it opens up a file for my rook, but it's not a good file. Okay, and we just get the resignation. So like I explained, I'm not going to go over the games or anything like that, since I need to do a full in-depth analysis later on. It would just take way too long to do that on stream. But thanks for tuning in. Catch you on game 2.